My name is Thomas Ray Garcia. I am the founder and executive director of CSLAP, College Scholarship Leadership Access Program.
But Thomas, you're not just the leader of a non-profit, you are an author. And I
Yes,
would like you to show us your latest book.
yes, I'm also a writer. Recently published The River Runs Stories, a collection of 11 stories about the Texas-Mexico border. 9 of these stories take place here in the Rio Grande Valley.
Tell us about the book. What inspired you to write it?
Well, from 2015 to 2020, I was graduating college. I worked here in the Rio Grande Valley, and then I attended graduate school at UCLA. I was often entering and leaving the border during a very tumultuous time for the border. During the Trump administration, we often saw narratives about the border being projected onto our hometown, about the US-Mexico border as a crisis zone or as a political photo opportunity, essentially. And I wrote these 11 stories in response to that. These stories are not inherently political, but I do think each story carries weight behind it in terms of tackling some of these issues with compassion, greediness, and honesty. So, for example, there is a short story told through the lens of an undocumented immigrant with humanity, with realism, and with compassion for individuals going through the process of living in the shadows of deportation. Many of these stories often focus on what it means to be Mexican American. So whether you're from the border or not from the border, I think these collection of stories will illuminate some common universal issues of identity struggle, identification with one's culture, and what it means to live along a border in the first place.
And I understand this isn't the first book. It's not your first book. Maybe it's book number 2. Tell us about the first one.
Yes, in 2021, I spearheaded a independent online publication called Speechless. It's a children's picture book that was initially published online for free for parents and students to access during the height of the pandemic. And that book was based on my own personal experiences struggling to speak growing up. I didn't have the opportunity in class to find my voice, first of all, but then stand up daily and practice how to speak in public. That book was co-written with my public speaking coach, Matt Eventoff, whom I met at Princeton University through a student organization called Speak with Style. So we formed an informal group that is now in the process of becoming an LLC called Speak with Style Books. And that book was the first project that is entirely not for profit. Anytime someone purchases the book on Amazon or obtains a paperback through Barnes & Noble, all those proceeds go toward getting more books in the hands of more students. So we have sold over thousands of copies through the process of people donating their money and or facilitating sponsorships to ensure students along the border can gain access to that book.
And The River Runs, book number 2, is not going to be the final one. You've got something coming out soon again.
Yes, coincidentally, these 2 book projects about South Texas that I was working on in college and throughout the pandemic are now being published within months of one another. So The River Runs, a collection of short stories. In July, Texas A&M University Press is publishing a historical memoir that I've worked on with Aurelio Manuel Montemayor from IDRA in San Antonio. Mr. Montemayor is a South Texas Chicano movement activist, and he has an amazing story that is undertold in our canon of Chicano movement history. He tells a story of becoming a teacher along the Texas-Mexico border and slowly getting involved in the South Texas Chicano movement through education initiatives like co-founding the first Chicano college in Mercedes, to co-founding his own weekend retreat for barrio men to shut off some of the machistic sentiments that they held during the height of the Chicano movement.
Well, let's close by looking again. Give us a glimpse again at book number 2, the brand new one, The River Runs. How can people get a hold of the book?
Yes, The River Runs is available online on Barnes & Noble and Amazon and bookshop.org. It's also available locally here in Hidalgo County at the McAllen Heritage Center, slowly getting into Barnes & Noble stores, available in the Hidalgo County Library system for checkout, also in Cameron County at Buho Bookstore in Brownsville.
And how can people reach out to you?
They can reach out to me online at Thomas Ray Garcia. They can also reach me through my website at www.thomasraygarcia.com. And they can also reach me through my nonprofit, info@cslapofficial.com.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Thomas?
Yes, a little more of the background of this book. This book won the Americo Paredes Literary Arts Prize for Fiction. That is co-sponsored between Flower Song Press out of McAllen and Prickly Pear Publishing in Santa Fe, New Mexico. These two presses focus on publishing underrepresented writers and underrepresented stories. That contest was judged by Tim Z. Hernandez, a Southwest writer, and he judged this book based on representation of voices often not read about in our day-to-day curricula in schools, or books you might not see on the top 10 bestseller list. This book, although is regional and about the Texas-Mexico border, is meant to appeal to a universal readership. People who have no clue what the US-Mexico border is like and what life is really like down here, I think will gain true insights about what it means to grow up as a fronterizo.
Thomas Ray Garcia, thank you so much for today's interview.
Thank you for giving me the platform, Steve.